All right. What's up? Welcome. Hey, y'all. It's Friday. So today we are talking about renewal still, and this is part 3, friends and lovers. Yeah, so I've been so excited about this series that I've been doing on these Fridays in December. I don't always focus on renewal, but I really want to get in our heads what healing looks like and what the benefits are. And so that's why I want to park it here and talk about it. So if you're new to my page, welcome. I am Onjeinikab, also known as the Unmothered Coach. I help women who had difficult relationships with their mothers and lost their mother overcome emotional trauma, find their voice, and reclaim their power so they can have the lives they deserve. So that's who I am. And I am also the author of this book. The book is called Unmothered, A Daughter's Guide to Acceptance, Healing, and Renewal. And I wrote the book for women like me. As I stated, I did not have a good relationship with my mother. Things were very difficult growing up, and eventually I lost her to breast cancer. And so when you have not had an opportunity to grieve the fact that you're not going to have the mother that you thought you were going to have, and when you also lose your mother and now you're motherless, that is a tough place to be. It is very complicated. And so it took me quite a while to figure out what was going on with me, and then to end up getting the book out. And so I got the book written with the help of a book coach, and out came the 9 steps to healing. And so the steps are broken down in detail in this book, what it takes, what you need to do in order to move through the pain and into renewal. But today I am just going to talk about the final part of healing, when you are ready to put your life back together. And so what we're talking about in renewal is focusing on self. So that is the very first part of it. And so the first Friday in December, I went in depth into that, like what that means, how you find yourself again, how you learn yourself, how you identify triggers and emotions that can, set you reeling, how you understand what brings you joy, and just how you want to show up. All of that is important when it comes to healing. And so you basically start there with self, and you have to rebuild yourself in a lot of cases, because so much of the time you're torn down. And so you move from working on yourself, and then I think the next thing I talked about was parenting and how we show up with our kids. And now I want to talk about how you show up in romantic relationships and in friendships. And so it's called Friends and Lovers. First, I want to deal with the friendship part. But let me just say this. The best time, I think, in my opinion, the best time to enter any kind of relationship is when you know you've done the work on yourself. When you know that you have taken time and sat with yourself, analyzed the things that are causing you problems, paid attention to the things that make you feel good, paid attention to how you want to show up in relationships and what you have to give, because the relationships are reciprocal. You're giving something and you're also getting something, and the other person is doing the same thing. Nobody wants to be in a one-sided relationship. And so it's important for you to know that that's really the best time. Now, there are people out there that actually don't have things that they need to heal from, believe it or not. I know that's hard for some of us to believe when, there's so much trauma and so much pain that we've experienced. But there are people that come into situations differently. And by no means am I saying that they're perfect. But what I'm saying is some of us have more work to do than others. Or some of us, we begin to notice patterns. And so the best time to go into a relationship is when you've had time to work on yourself. And I think, we always knew that. Like, even when you were young, if you were dating and you had a breakup, most of the time that took a toll. And so you probably needed some time to get yourself together. And that's all I'm talking about when it comes to healing. But especially if you notice a pattern and things aren't going how you want to. And so you must understand that healing is not a permanent state of being. It's not permanent. Like, we're not going to ever be completely healed from everything, because life keeps lifing. Things keep happening, right? We're going to experience things all the time. And so because we don't have a means of controlling the future and controlling the things that show up in our life, we have to constantly be, healing, be resilient, be knowing how to overcome that. But as you build that muscle up, as you learn yourself, you're going to be able to do a better and better job with it. And so it won't always feel like you're healing, because you will recover so quickly from the things that you're going through, or you'll know the way to manage it so that the stress and the pain is minimal. And so that's what I mean by we're constantly going to be healing. But when you have just come out of something, or when you had, a bad breakup with a friend, or, with a partner, or you even had to go through divorce or something, that's very traumatic like that, then that's a good point to give yourself some time. So that's my caveat. I just want to say that before we talk about coming into these friendships and relationships. Now let's move forward. So when it comes to making friends, and when it comes to being in a relationship, and in my case, I'm married. First and foremost is addressing your ish. So whatever your issues are, you need to address them. And so think about it like, what places do you feel inadequate when it comes to like being a friend? Do you feel like you can't be yourself, like you can't show up with the people that you are around right now? Do you have trust issues? Because trust issues don't only mean infidelity, or if your friend also has another friend that they're with. You can have problems trusting somebody with your heart, like with opening yourself up. That can be, a huge problem for some of us. And so you have to also understand what you need, like more than just your love language, but like literally, how do you want to be loved? How do you want to be treated? You got to think about these things and know what you're willing to give in return. You have to think about these things and know what you're willing to give in return. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I almost never have to stop in the middle of a live, but I thought that it was one of my kids in need, but it's not. All right, back to what I was saying. So when it comes to friendships and relationships, you do have to decide and figure out what's going on with you and what areas you need to address. Now, sometimes it can be difficult because of the relationship you have with your mother, and that's why we're talking about healing. So there can be a lot of doubt that's put in your mind when it comes to your ability to make friends. So there was this thing that I would say sometimes to myself, and it was, I can't make friends because women don't like me. And I did a talk about that. I talked about it on this page, and if you want me to find a video for you, I can do that. Just DM me, let me know. But I talked about that specifically. I can't make friends because women don't like me, and how we sometimes take that on. We believe that, and it's not necessarily true. It's just that we didn't get along with our mothers. And so I was that person. I believe that. And so sometimes it's you when it comes to making friends. You are the hold up. You are part of the problem because of just how you're approaching the friendship, how you're thinking about it. And if you think that you can't make friends because women don't like you, or that people are going to always treat you like your mother did, then you don't go into the situation with fairness. And so sometimes it can be the other women too. Because all of us have issues, and sometimes they can have a, who does she think she is kind of attitude when it comes to you. Sometimes they can have they can have their own insecurities, and they can be competitive. And so it just depends. But then sometimes people are just different. And so everyone isn't for you. Everyone isn't going to be your friend because you guys don't like the same things, or you just have too many differences. Even though you might find your tribe and they might find theirs, the two of y'all don't click just for other reasons, and that's normal. And so you have to think about these things and see what is your role in it, and then how are you changing yourself when it comes to making friends. What's making it difficult? And so for me, one of the reasons I couldn't find true friendship and I couldn't find good friends, when I would be looking, is because of how I would change. And it was all, like I said, mostly in my head because of how my mother treated me. And so I would shrink myself around certain women. I would shrink and try not to, come off as like a know-it-all. I would dumb myself down. I would try to be really nice, overly nice sometimes. I would be a people pleaser because I didn't want them to reject me. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have some girlfriends or some partners to hang out with. And so I would do the things that I felt like, were necessary to make myself seem like I was an okay person, not realizing that that was the road to misery. Because when people see that, they can go in for the kill. If they can exploit you, sometimes they don't care what you want. They have their own agendas. And that is not going to be a good friendship if that's what it's based on. And so I would do all those things. I also had trust issues. And so I would get anxiety over, whether my friend was going to stay true to me or whether I was going to open myself up too much to them. And then they're going to use the things they knew about me to talk about me, or to tell people things that I didn't want them to know, that kind of thing. And then I also worried about what were they going to ask me for. So sometimes I would be on the verge of making a friend and I would literally shut it down because I would become fearful. And I'd just be like, no, whatever it is, they are trying to hang out. They're trying to get close to me, and I am not willing to do this. I'm not willing to do this because I am afraid. I don't want to open up myself to, what could come next. I don't know what that is, and I don't want to know. And so that kind of feeling, I would literally feel it in my throat when someone would ask me if I wanted to hang out. And I didn't want to because I just didn't want to go down the road of being vulnerable. And so it kept me from making close friends, good friends. And when I did choose friends, all these different things that I'm telling you about would sometimes make the friendships unstable. And so they weren't going to last. They weren't true because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to show up, and I didn't know what I wanted. And that's because my foundation with my mother was very shaky. And because she had such a problem with me, I could never figure out how just to be and how just to let people love me. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say about friendships. So it's going to take some work. And I'm going to come back in the end and wrap this up so that, you have some steps that'll move you forward for both types. But let's move into love relationships, romantic relationships. Let's talk about, partnerships and marriages and stuff like that. The other stuff, the other good stuff. And so I said yesterday, if you want to bring the fire, the heat back into your relationship, then you got to heal. And I stand by that. And I don't stand by that meaning you're going to heal and suddenly everything's going to be amazing in your relationship. No. So a disclaimer right here. I am not a wife coach. I know 2 fabulous ones and maybe a couple more. They're good at what they do. But I'm not a wife coach. But what I'm saying is you have to work on you, and that changes how you show up in a relationship. And that is what's fire. That is what can move things forward. Your whole mindset. And so let's talk about it. How you relate to your partner can definitely be affected by your relationship with your mother. Because unfortunately, when we're kids, we see a lot of things. We watch a lot of things and we will emulate the things that are around us, and especially when it comes to mothers. Now, we do know right from wrong eventually, but when you're little, sometimes those thoughts and those patterns, those ideologies get formed and you don't have a lot of control over it. And so it takes something happening or something changing for you to become aware. And so in my case, my mama was a trip, especially when it came to men. Now, my father lived in a different state. They weren't together. They were never married. But my mother dated, and, she eventually got married to my brother's father down the line when we were teenagers. But that's a whole different thing. But what I saw growing up with my mama was a whole lot of stuff. She did not play, but she also didn't know herself and what she needed and wanted. And I think the whole time she really just wanted to be loved. She wanted to be accepted. And so it was a challenge. And so what I could have learned from my mama was how to cuss a man out. How to have him pay for me for things, like pay my way for everything. I could have learned about domestic violence and abuse and what it's like to have somebody beating on me, cheating on me, talking to me any kind of way. Like just accepting these things, because that is the environment that I grew up in. These are things that happen. These are things that I witnessed. And when you witness stuff like this, it's something known as adverse childhood experiences. When you witness things like that, your ACEs can be higher because you've already seen it. And so sometimes people like us, we don't choose right all the time. It doesn't mean in every single case you're going to choose a bad mate, but sometimes when that's what's modeled before you, it just gets in your mind. You don't really, subconscious almost. And so those are the things that I could have learned. But at the very least, what I learned from my mother was that, I couldn't be myself. And so I saw me in a very weird, strange, unacceptable light. And that made me view men and the people I was dating. It made me view them in a skewed and a wrong way, just based on how I grew up. All men don't cheat. But that's something that was in my mind because of the things that I saw my mother going through. And so I just was like, eventually it doesn't matter who you are, they're going to cheat on you because this is just what they do. And then there was a part of me that would always believe, well, I'm inadequate, or, like I can't keep a man. And so, he's definitely going to wander off because it's me. And those things are wrong. Those things are wrong. I'm not here to tell you that you are perfect and you're flawless. I'm here to tell you you're perfect and you're flawless being you. Being you. So you don't have to compare yourself to anyone else and worry about if you're enough. You are enough. And that's what I'm trying to talk to you about. You have to come into a romantic relationship knowing that you are the ish. And when you come in like that, it sets the bar much higher. It gives you confidence that no one else can give you. And so that's how you have to come in for yourself, knowing who you are. And then it changes your mindset with how you relate to your husband, or your wife, or how you relate to your partner. It changes your mindset. And so because I came in with these things I saw from my mother, and knowing that I could have been the type of woman that I'm going to always cuss you out. I'm going to, put my hands on you. Me being the woman, I'm going to be overbearing and always wanting to bicker. I could have even been okay with being the side piece from the things that I saw growing up and what I learned. But I had to, at some point, understand that didn't work for me. While I was trying to figure it out, those thoughts were in my mind, and it made me very guarded. And that's what can happen to us. Because you don't have the foundation to know that you're loved and you're supported, you will second guess yourself, even when it comes to romance, even when it comes to love. And it can make you very guarded. And so, I think most of all, I was very accusatory a lot of the time. And this was not in just relationships in my marriage. I could be combative. I could be very jealous and worried about, what's he doing, who's he with, and that is no way to have a relationship. And so I'm just here to tell you that sometimes, even in romantic relationships, it also comes back to us. It has to do with self. You have to figure out why you're thinking like this. Where did this come from? Are these your beliefs or somebody else's? And in my case, a lot of it wasn't stuff that happened to me. And so you got to look at people with fresh eyes. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. And so when I started to heal, and this is why I push healing, when I started to heal, the little girl in me got healed. And so no longer was I looking for a partner that could be like a father, like he was going to pay for everything and he was going to do everything. That's not how I came into this. I wasn't looking for somebody that's going to do that, because I healed that little girl part of me. And I know that I'm bad all by myself. I can get the things that I want, and I can take care of myself. I don't have to have someone do that for me. It's wonderful to be in a relationship where you can rely on another person. But that's not something that I come in, like, I didn't come into the marriage thinking, you're supposed to do this and I'm going to sit back. And so that changed everything. So I show up as a grown woman, as his equal. And it's hard to do that when you're unhealed. And so, I'm not looking for him to take care of everything while I sit back and chill. We are equal partners. We are equal partners. He got my back and I got his. And so you won't start thinking like that until you begin to do the healing. And so when it comes to, whether I'm going to be a wife that submits or not, I need him to know where I'm coming from, that I'm willingly submitting. And that is me. Everybody doesn't want to be someone that submits. But in order for me to be the wife that submits, I have to be comfortable in my own skin. I can't mistrust and distrust my husband if I want to have this thing work out. And so you got to look at the trust piece too, and realize that you could be distrusting a whole person just based on something your mama said, or just based on something your mama went through. And that is not fair, because that's prejudging them. You're not even giving them a real chance. And it really takes bravery as well. You have to allow yourself to be brave. Making friends and starting romantic relationships and getting married and falling in love, all of that is a risk. Those are huge risks, because your heart is at stake. Your livelihood is at stake. Someone could mishandle you. But if you don't take some risks, if you don't get to know yourself, and if you don't try, you won't find the right friends, and you won't find the right mates. That's just the way it is. And so that's it in a nutshell. And one more thing, and don't forget your money mindset. When it comes to making friends, and when it comes to being in romantic relationships, if your mother, was always broke, and that's what she taught you, or she was always talking about lack, and we don't have this, and I ain't got that, and you're not this and that, you can absolutely take that mindset and come into relationships, and then you will be jealous of your friend that thinks highly of themselves or has more. You will be jealous of your mate because they have a certain sense of how they want to look and how they want to take care of themselves, and that's making you suspicious, when really all it is a money mindset that's completely different. You grew up with lack and they didn't, or they grew up with lack and they're done with it. They now see themselves having more. And so you have to identify all these underlying issues within yourself and begin to heal, because then it allows you to show up with confidence. Then you're not worried about, putting your heart out there so much, because you know that you can't get without giving. And that if something happens, you are then going to move on, or you're not going to move on. So either you're going to evolve and you're going to heal, or you're not going to heal. And so once you begin to show up for yourself, the confidence takes over. And you understand that what's for you is for you. If things are going to work out, they're going to work out. When you're willing to work with somebody in a relationship, you're going to buckle down and work with them. Yes, sometimes you do have to go through marriage therapy or counseling. Yes, sometimes there's relationship therapy that you have to do. Yes, sometimes you got to take a break from your friend until y'all figure out what's going on and if y'all going to really be there for each other. All of that is true. But you won't have as much anxiety when you know who you are. You ain't always worried about whether somebody can take your man from you, because can nobody take him from you? He'll leave if he wants to leave. But when you know who you are, you're not worried about, well, can somebody take him from me? He can walk away if he's crazy. He can walk away if he's crazy. He can lose all this if he ain't got a lot of sense. But you're not going to be so hung up on that. And it allows you to free up yourself and have fun. And get to know your mate, get to know your friends, to let go, to enjoy each other, and to hold them tight when they need you, to be there for them when they are going through, to understand what it feels like to have someone in your corner that will not back down, that's going to fight for you and be with you, whatever comes. And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about healing to that level so that you can show up as the person that you were meant to be. And so that's basically it, guys. If you want to do the work that it takes in order to heal, then I would say consider the problem areas and ask yourself, where do they stem from? Where are they coming from? What's this about? Is this my belief? Is this something my mama done told me? Is this something I saw? Where is this coming from? Then you want to make sure it's not the other person. So make sure it's not that they're toxic and you're just used to your toxic mama, and so you've accepted them because you want to continue that. You don't know why you want to continue it, but you just do. Look at that. Maybe you signed up for the drama and the craziness because that's all you know. So you want to look at their character as well. And then you want to decide if you're going to work on yourself, when you're going to do that. When are you going to work on you? Because you can't work on them. You can only leave them or encourage them, but you can't work on them. So you have to decide if you're going to work on you to make changes, when are you going to do that? And then you get started. Because making those decisions, taking those steps, that's the way to come into knowing who you are. And that will lead you into true, genuine friendships and amazing love with your romantic relationships. Like you've never known. And it's strictly because you are comfortable in your skin and you know who you are. You know what you want. You know your worth. You know your value. And so you know what you deserve. All right? Know what you deserve and you know what you're willing to give. So that's what I have for you today. Like I said, I have talked about these topics many times, and so there are other lives. If you want something else, let me know. DM me, let me know, and I will pull up the live for you, link it for you. But yeah, that's what I have for you today. Guys, I hope that you are enjoying the weather. I hope you're enjoying December and the holidays, no matter what you celebrate. We have Christmas is around the corner. Kwanzaa is coming up. The New Year is almost here. There's so much to be excited about. I am here for you, though. During all this time, I am here for you. If you need anything, DM me. I will get back with you. And want to let you know one-on-one coaching is still open. And so I will be here. Get at me. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. Bye.